Welcome to Poured Paint Pots. I'm Sandy, and today we're going to take some paint in a clay pot and we're going to make a fun little painted pot that you can use to plant a little plant in, put paper clips or pencils in, or if you have someone you know that needs a special gift, you can gift it to them. You should have already picked up your take and make bag, which will have all the supplies that you need for the project, with the exception of a little bit of water from your kitchen sink and maybe a wet towel to clean your fingers as you're doing the project. Let's get started. In your take and make bag, you should have 4 clear cups, 4 craft sticks, green paint, yellow paint, red paint, blue paint in containers, a paper plate, and a pot. And then you'll also want to get from your kitchen sink in a cup some water to thin down our paint, and maybe a spoon to help us take the water from the cup into the paint. You will have a clay pot and you will have one of 2 pots. Most of you are going to have a pot like this that's going to have a hole in the bottom of it. We've taped over that hole just for the process of pouring the paint so that the paint doesn't drip down through the hole and plug the hole. Once your paint is dry, you can, if it sticks up, you can pull the tape off, or you could take a pencil or something and poke it through the tape from inside and get that off if you need it for a drainage hole if you're going to plant a flower in your pot. A couple of you will have a pot that doesn't have a hole in it, and that's okay. You'll just pour your paint over it, and that's the kind of pot I'm going to use for today for our project. So the first thing you want to do is take your paints, and they're all going to have some tape across the top of them. And that's just to keep the paint from spilling in the bag and getting it all over your other supplies. So the first thing you want to do is take the clear tape off your paint. And just be gentle and don't just try to rip it off really super hard, because you'll end up popping the top off and you'll end up with paint everywhere. And we don't want that to happen. So just pull your plastic off, stick it together, throw it away. And then if you want, you could even take a paper towel or something and set your paints on just to keep your area tidy, if that helps. And for me, it helps because I'm pretty messy when I craft. So the first thing we're gonna do is we'll take one of our clear cups, we'll take our paint, and we're going to pour our paint into the cup. So just carefully take your lid off, pour the paint in the cup. And the reason that we're doing this is because we're going to add some water to the paint, because the paint is pretty thick and it won't pour very well as thick as it is. So pour your paint, and see, I've already got paint all over my fingers. I'm a messy crafter. And scrape all that paint out of the little plastic container into the cup, and then take some water. And you don't need a lot of water, but I don't know if you can see how thick this paint is. It's not going to pour very well. So we'll take our spoon. If you can try pouring it from the cup if you want to do that. Just, it's kind of tricky to make sure you get the right amount and not too much. So we'll pour some paint in, or excuse me, some water in. We'll stir it around, and if it's if you can see, it's kind of moving around the cup a little bit better than it was. And that looks like it might still be just a little bit thick. Oh shoot, I didn't want to do that. So we'll just pour a couple more drops in there, stir it in, and I shouldn't have stirred with a spoon. I should have used my craft stick, but that's okay. But see how it's kind of moving around in the cup a lot easier now? That's what we want it to do in order to pour it over our pot, so we can get it to go instead of just sitting in one big clump. So you want to do the same thing with all the rest of your colors. Just take them out of the containers, pour them in the cups.
Can they mix colors too?
Yes, you can mix colors. If you wanted an orange, you could take and mix your red and your yellow and make an orange. You could take and mix your blue and your red to make a purple. You could take your green and your yellow, blue and yellow and make a green, which you already have green, but you could make a different color green. So the combinations are endless. And see, I don't know if you can see, the yellow paint is pretty thick, just like the red was. So we'll thin that down just a little bit. And just stir it up. And that's pretty good on that one. And just keep going until you get them all. And pour it into your cup. Scrape it out. Just a teeny bit of water. And that's where using the teaspoon helps. I think you can control the water a little bit better when you do that, or I can anyway. But that looks pretty good. You just want it thinned out enough so that you can pour it so it won't sit right on the top of the pot. And our last one. This one is pretty thick too. Just scrape it all out of here. Try not to splatter too much paint on your work surface. This paint is washable. So if you do spill some, you just want to clean it up as quickly as you can. And I believe it will wash out of clothes as well if you wash them right away. And just stir, stir, stir. Make sure you get it all mixed up good. All right, now comes the really fun part. We'll take your pot and sit it on your paper plate. And we've given you the paper plate so that you have some place to pour this that's not going to make a mess all over your mom's kitchen table. So just put your pot on the paint or put your pot on the plate, and it doesn't matter which color you start with. Just take one of your paints and just pour it over, and you can kind of pour it like this. And you can move it back and forth like this if you want to. However it looks fun to you, pour it like that. And then when you think you've got enough of that color, just move on to the next color and do the same thing again. Just pour it around. See what kind of fun patterns it makes. See which color shows up under the other color. And then you can just keep repeating that, and you don't even have to do it in the same order that you did the first time. I could start with the blue this time. And just, you can just see what happens. And you might want to turn your plate around and just so you can see what kind of designs or where you want more color. But just keep doing that until you're happy with it. And again, if you want to mix some paint at some point, you can mix the green and the blue to make purple. You could mix the green, the red and the yellow to make some orange. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try, just because in my little pot here, I'm going to mix some red and some yellow and see what kind of orange I get. Oh, looks like I need a little more yellow. It's still looking pretty red to me. There we go. That's looking more orange. So now I'll just take that and pour it on top. It's still pretty red, but you can see the difference between the red. And just for experiment's sake, because what's the fun in art if you don't experiment, I'm gonna mix some red and some blue because purple is my favorite color. So let's see what we can come up with. Right, here goes. Alright. Looks like it's more blue than red, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just going to pour it on here and see what happens. It's kind of chocolatey brown, but that's okay. I don't care. And there you have it. That's our poured paint pots. Again, it's a messy craft, so just be careful and make sure, especially if you're digging paint out of the cups, so make sure you have something handy to wipe your hands, but it's also fun to see all the different designs that show up from pouring that paint. And even it's fun to look at the designs that are in the paint that runs off of the pot. enjoy the craft. Oh, you'll want to let this dry. I would say at least overnight, sometimes maybe a little bit longer, because your paint's going to be pretty thick right through here. So you want to make sure to just leave it sit on the plate until it's dry. Do it at night and then check it in the morning. And once that's done, you can take it off of the plate. If you have one of the pots with the tape over the hole, you can take the tape off. Plant your plant, use it to hold pencils, give it as your gift, and just enjoy the project. Thanks for joining us for Poured Paint Pots. I hope you had a lot of fun with this project. We'd love to see any pictures or video of you doing this project, and you can share them at the email address that's coming across the screen. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.